Hello and welcome to the New Jersey Pulse and the Sirrano Show. Today I had a chance to sit down with Joey Torres for the first time. I've been in Paterson 7 years as a newspaper reporter, and in the last election 4 years ago, Mayor Jeffrey Jones, who I endorsed against Joey Torres, won the election. This year I wanted to stand back and start questioning candidates before I make any decisions if I wanted to endorse anyone. So I sat down face to face, toe to toe, eye to eye with former Mayor Joey Torres of the city of Paterson. When I announced this interview, that I did this interview, everybody wanted to see it. And you're going to get a chance to see it right here yourself. But first, I am not going to make any comments about the interview. I want you to take a look at it by yourself or with your friends and family, get some popcorn, relax. It got a little tense. We were throwing chairs and bottles and cans and, okay, maybe not. But got a little tense and a little tug, and we got through it. I think it was a great interview, except the only thing I will say is the director of the parking authority was being blamed for the failures of Center City in a collection issue, and I know the director, and he's just an amazing guy. So that's my only thing I'm going to say. Joey, don't do it if you're reelected. So anyway, there are 8 people running for the elections in the city of Paterson, the election in the city of Paterson for mayor. And I am doing my own debate at JFK High in Paterson, 5:30, May 2nd. After that debate, I will decide if I wanted, or myself and the New Jersey Pulse wanted, to endorse any candidate. My only apprehension right now is the Democratic Party is involved in the elections, and that is making me a little bit angry because this is a nonpartisan city, and they have chosen a candidate, and I wanted to present all my candidates. So here's the first one. And until, of course, you'll come to the debates on May 2nd, and you'll hear the rest. Take a look. Hello, and welcome to the New Jersey Pulse and the Sirrano Show. We are here with former Mayor Joey Torres of the city of Paterson. Nice to meet you. Again and again and again. This is probably one of the toughest interviews you're going to do. Okay. So buckle up, sit back. I'm going to start off by asking you, why do you think it's a good time or not for you to come back?
Well, basically, Sirrano, when you look back at the progress that I was able to maintain and do during my 8 years in service, when I left office, it's been all a standstill. So there's 2 reasons why I want to come back. Primarily is because the people of Paterson has asked me to consider coming back and running for office.
When you say the people, what do you mean?
My constituents,
Okay.
the residents of the city of Paterson. Actually, as my walking through the streets, the phone calls that I've got, as you know, over a year ago, I started an exploratory committee, and the response from that exploratory committee said that yes, I was electable and favorable for returning back to the city of Paterson.
Still electable and favorable.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So go ahead.
And secondly is to continue building on the progress that I was able to do during my 8 years.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you the questions that I sat through some of the debates. Actually, I sat through one, and I thought it was kind of weak. I didn't feel I got what you wanted to say. You sat by yourself basically, and everybody was grouping off. So some of the questions, and one of the questions that I have is, you say that Lowe's and Home Depot and all these things you brought in, correct?
That's correct.
So right now there is an abatement on these properties that you have to pay off now $3-point-something million. How do you get that money back?
Well, it's not an abatement. You're incorrect by saying an abatement.
Okay.
What happened was that just like the majority of 1/3 of the residents of the city of Paterson has appealed their taxes because the assessment value, at one time the market was high, they appealed it. They have the right, and not only the Lowe's and Home Depot. You probably look at currently right now, there's hundreds of applications pending in the state court waiting for them to revisit and appealing their taxes. So they did what residents are doing still today, and so they won. And now they have to get credit for the additional value or taxes that they paid on their property because it was overassessed.
So you're saying this is not on you, this is on the economy, everybody's doing it, they did it, and that's why this is happening?
Well, I think that definitely the law allows that when you are overtaxed because your assessed value was overappraised, you appeal it. There's a process. You appeal it. Commercial appeal it to state court. Residential appeal it to the County Board of Taxation. And as you may know, people have been winning because of the collapse of the housing market.
And we're going back to when you did a revaluation of the properties in Paterson when things were high, because you were sued by Wayne and some of the other towns.
That's correct.
So it was bad business for Paterson because you got sued at the wrong time.
Yeah. And just to add to that, the fact of the matter is that every 10 years, municipalities need to do a reval to stay within the market trend of the housing market, the assessment value. That's what the terminology is. And so Paterson had not done it for over 30 years. And so when that lawsuit came in, it was actually a court order that they ordered us to actually do the reval. And it came in at a time, yes, that when it hit, the assessment value was high. There was a lot of unscrupulous savings and loans and mortgages and things happened. Then the housing market collapsed. And so then the assessed value, the value of the reval then absolutely collapsed when the market actually collapsed. So that's why I went back to the County Board of Taxation. I then sued the board, asking that I go ahead and allow me to redo a new reval, even though it had not expired within the 10 years, because that happened in 2006. In 2009, I sued them in order to do another reval so that I could reassess the property value and distribute the equalization ratio accordingly to all the property owners, commercial and residential. We were granted to do that. The fact of the matter is that I was voted out of office, and so 10 came in, 11, 12, and it wasn't until 13 that the city council, under the leadership of the urgence and under the leadership of Mayor Jones, that finally awarded a contract to do a new reval.
When do you think the new reval is going to be done? If you get into office this year, when would you do it?
Well, I believe that they have actually went out to bid. They actually have identified a vendor. So the key would be just pushing the buttons through the law department, doing the contracts, through the purchasing department, and making sure that we actually start the reval. The good part is that we do not need no new tax maps.
Okay. One of the reasons that I believe or assess that you lost the election was because there was a lot of rally and protest against you for high property taxes. Should you come back, how are you going to bring those property taxes back down or stabilize it?
Well, again, the high property taxes was predicated on the back of the assessment value of the house going up. And so when the assessment value of the house went up, you pay your taxes according to the value of your home. The high value was given when the reval was instituted. So it was a domino effect. The reval was instituted, the market was high, the property was assessed high, and therefore then you pay a high value because your property was assessed at a high value. If your property was assessed at a low value, well then obviously the ratio would be lower and you'd pay lower. So when the housing market collapsed, that's the reason why I went back to the County Board of Taxation, urged them and sued them and asked them to allow me to do a new reval so that way we could have a true value representing all the properties. Because exactly what's been happening now. I mean, under this current administration, we have borrowed millions. You mentioned earlier with the Lowe's and the Home Depot. There's hundreds and hundreds of applications waiting on the state level, on the commercial side, and there's literally hundreds. Just this April 1st was when people had to submit their application. I would bet to you, even in this office right here, we assisted residents to do applications. We probably did a couple of hundred ourselves. So there's hundreds of applications still waiting right now for this year so that have their assessment value lowered, which would ultimately reflect a lower tax rate.
In addition to Lowe's and Home Depot.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So you have this, and then you have Lowe's. So it's not just that, as the news reported, because of you. It's everything.
It's actually the market, and whether you check right now in Jackson Township or in Wayne or anywhere, you go to any tax assessor's office throughout the state, and I would tend to say throughout the country, you would see that all of them are experience a high volume in their applications to appeal their taxes. Granted, they have been tapering off because the market is changing a little bit. You're starting to see a little bit, but still, is a significant amount. That's why the only way to actually put a Band-Aid on it is to do it for all the properties, because all you're doing is shifting. You're giving credit to those that are successful, but what about those that are not successful? What about those that did not appeal? So therefore, what you want to do is do all of them across the board, 100%, and then you distribute it equally, 100%.
Why were you unable to sell this message to the protesters just before the election?
I honestly believe that they just didn't want to hear it. They during the election cycle, people bite on little sound bites, and so they're just going to repeat what they hear, not because it makes sense, more because it's just the political tune in the political wave during that time. So I attempted to explain it, but I don't think they really wanted to hear it.
Because they were upset, angry, looking at their bills and saying, Joey caused this.
Yeah, and because there was a group of other folks running for office who was actually saying it. It's no different than topics that are amongst the airwaves today.
So it's more like when the pendulum swing on one side and comes back the other side, because it was you getting it, now it's Jones getting it.
Absolutely.
So
somebody
always there.
Somebody has to get it, and most of the time it's whoever's there. Yes.
Okay. Crime. You evaluated Paterson. I think it cost us $170,000. Remember that crew you brought down? Reevaluated the crime situation in Paterson, and you were going to do something about that. What happened? There was a gentleman that came down, and he presented why crime was so high in Paterson.
We never paid for any study.
Okay, so he just came down and he did that.
We were under the leadership of Director Walker, who's a professor at John Jay University, and the current Chief Frey, who's also a professor in John Jay. What we did was we did a blue ribbon panel at no cost, and we reached out to experts in the faith-based community and the community in general, the educators, the prosecutor's office, the sheriff, and we created a team, and we started actually tracking and making an analysis of crime wave or crime patterns.
And you got voted out of office before something happened?
Huh?
You got voted out of office before something happened?
No, actually, there was value. When I left office, crime was the lowest it's been since 1965 in Paterson.
And you've got statistics you can supply to us for that?
You could go to the chief's office, and it's public record. Absolutely.
Okay. What would you do about crime today? Because you had 2 murders the other night, right?
Yeah.
What would you do?
I don't think, when you talk about murders or crime of passion, there's no way you actually...
What is crime of passion?
Crime of passion, domestic violence, things of that sort. There's no way to actually fight crime in that manner. That person obviously is premeditated to get up and they just create that crime. What we're seeing is that most of the crime really is occur because of gang violence, which most of it then again you could attribute it to the drug market, the open drug trade. And so what we need to do is do what I did before on a consistent manner, which was we had more boots on the ground. I had hired over 100 police officers, new police officers. It was the highest manpower and police manpower that we've had in the history of Paterson. Okay, but that comes with a price. We made the money with the Lowe's and the Home Depot and the Micro Center and the Pep Boys and the Auto Zones and the Center City and all those commercials because we shifted the revenue base from the residential to the commercial. So we were able to use that money to hire the police officers. We did also get grants. I got a grant to put 25 police officers in the schools under a school resource office. That was a tailor-driven, written in order to address juvenile delinquency, in order to address bullying, things that have a crime pattern at an early age that if you don't track it and try to muffle it, obviously it's just going to grow and get more, get severe as they become young adults and adults. So we had crime down. We also instituted cameras. That came under my watch. We put computers in the police car, real time. We instituted a shot spotter program that allow us to be able to determine shot gunfires within 100 yards of where it occurred. If it's outdoor, that was very successful. We joined partnership with the state and our faith-based community under ceasefire. The money has been long gone of ceasefire, but I saw it fit to find money within our budget, within our detective squad, to continue the program of ceasefire. And even though we still have murders, we've seen a reduction in gun violence overall. Now, that doesn't have...
Before you go on, I want to come back before I lose this. Mr. Neff from the D.C., the state, stated that he wanted you to cut the police department down before you left office, but you didn't do that.
He never told me that.
Well, he's sending letters now that he had ordered the previous administration to cut the police department down.
I have no knowledge of no letter of him ever saying cutting. Matter of fact, it's not within Neff nor anyone else power to dictate how to do policing within the city, other than the chief of police and the taxpayers of the city.
Okay, because what they're saying is because you kept these officers on, it increased pension, the budget, the payments, and that's why you have to lay off the 125.
That's no,
it's not true.
No, that's not true.
Not true.
That's what Jeff Jones said.
Okay.
Of why he had to lay
Right.
off. I don't really believe, I haven't seen no document that Neff said it. That's what Jeff Jones said.
Anything that came to the city that suggests or state that the previous administration was ordered to lay these officers off, didn't do it, and now we have a problem. There's nothing.
Nothing. I find it hard to believe that the state would take that position when for the 8 years that I was here, one of the first things I did was that I reached out to DCA, and it wasn't Neff. Neff got there on the last leg of the new governor. But I dealt with 3 other directors of the Department of Community Affairs. And how did they get here? They got here at my request.
Mm-hmm.
It was at my request that I asked them to give me some assistance to go ahead and do those new crime fighting techniques, to help me bring school resource officers within the school, to fight the bullying, to fight juvenile delinquency, to bring some law and order within the school environment. And we had at loan here in the city of Paterson a retired chief of police by the name of Rick Riccadella, who my whole 8 years in office worked side by side with us, with the police department, the police director, in order to institute those new and innovative things that we got. And he worked for DCA. So how could DCA say you can't do it when they assigned me somebody from that office to help me do it? And we didn't stop there. I asked for help, the same thing in the fire department. And it was under, with the assistance of a fire person by the name of Don Hubert at DCA, that we were able to do some exciting things. We were able to shift the life hazard inspections from the state to the fire department, and that brought some additional revenues. We will also be able to, we applied for the largest grant and received it, the SAFER grant, that allowed me to hire 65 new firefighters. And you'll see it if you ride on McBride Avenue, we're building a brand new firehouse because we made a concerted argument to DCA that the old firehouse that was on McBride Avenue was not safe for the men, not safe for the apparatus, and therefore we were able to apply. We got the okay to go ahead and
So
move forward.
this fire house on McBride Avenue was your idea?
You honestly think it was Jeff's?
No, I'm not saying. I'm asking you to present that.
Absolutely.
How'd you come up with that idea?
Because the old one was not safe.
Okay, and then you made the application You presented all of that,
That's
and
correct.
it's coming to life. Okay.
And we applied for federal government, and I think we received something in this form of about $7 million. And I recall when the late Senator Lautenberg, and Senator Menendez came to make that award right there when we broke ground. So that firehouse was actually broke ground towards the end of my term.
And right there is Pennington Park.
Correct.
There was $2 million something invested in that. Were you a part of that too?
That's correct.
So you started all of that, Pennington Park, the thing. This was your baby, so to speak.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's
it's,
right.
it's happening now, but you said you initiated all of this.
Yep.
So I did.
And the records are showing. All you need to do is go and see when we did the award for the architect of the design of Pennington Park. You'll see when we went out to bond. All those things were done during my administration.
Okay, so I did some review on you, and I went to the finance department. When you were in office, John Corzine was the governor, correct? You had a special relationship with Corzine, and what I noticed is the deficit keep going down deeper and deeper. How do you explain that?
First of all, a relationship with a governor is a relationship that I had
It's a-
with
well,
all
that's what
three.
it's about,
No,
right?
I'm saying,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I had a good relationship with all three governors during my 8 years.
Mhm.
Whether it was Governor McGreevey, we were able to get a state park first before we became a national park. Do you think that progressively, had we not become a state park, all of a sudden we would have jumped to become a national park? No, progressively things start on a local level and then they grow up. I was able to do that through McGreevey with the selection of the Great Falls as one of the few state parks under his initiative. Then Corzine put the money into it, and we did the design. We went out and put the dollars. So I pride myself that I had good relationship with McGreevey, a good relationship with McGreevey administration, with the Corzine administration, and even
I'm not questioning.
even Governor Cody's in his term as governor. as
But
well.
before we get off track, and I see that you were actually
Yeah.
having a relationship with Christie when you came down here.
That's correct.
And you
Now,
were starting that.
deficits.
Right.
Deficits. How do you determine deficit?
Well, when I look at the numbers, and it came up in the last debate that I sat in, which was the only debate that I sat in, which I thought was kind of late. Somebody brought up the fact, in their opinion, that under Marty Barnes, there was, Donna Ivy brought up, under Marty Barnes, there was a surplus, and under we got down to more than $70 million in the debt. So,
Wrong.
okay.
That was a misstatement. Matter of fact, what under Marty Barnes, the late Marty Barnes, may he rest in peace, Marty was able to stabilize his taxes by utilizing money from surplus. There wasn't no surplus. He was utilizing the surplus to balance or stabilize the taxes. So the money that was there was used up during his term because he did not want to pass that money on to the taxpayers. Good business means you should progressively, as it goes on, just like the consumer price index goes up every year, where they say this is where the cost of living goes up. So you should adjust it accordingly. You shouldn't go to your piggy bank and take your savings that's there for future expenditures in order not to stay up with the cost of living. But he did it, and it worked out. I would tell you that as it relates to a $74,000 or $74 million deficit, that's a false number. We don't know where that number came from. That was a number that came from the Jones administration. Now, let me tell you how budgeting works. Okay?
But before you go on,
I think it's important. No, I think it's important.
But you said Jones, but I'm the one who went to Charles Paneri, and he actually gave me those figures. I have them. So if we're
Charlie who?
The finance director, Charlie,
No, Charlie's not the finance.
whoever it is down there. I can show you after this. But this is what they showed
But
me.
I think you make a reference that Donna Ivy made a comment of $74 million.
Right, but I did get the numbers from the city. Are we in debt? And they said yes, we are.
But Sirrano, we are always in debt.
Okay.
When we go ahead and build a firehouse, we go into debt. When we go ahead and build roads, we go into debt. When we go ahead and to build a sewer line, we go into debt. When we spend more money cleaning the snow, we go into debt. Debt is something that, unfortunately, in most cases for municipality and for residents at home, we are in debt. The beauty is that if you look back during my 8 years and the almost $1 billion in new ratables that I was able to achieve in my 8 years, what that did was $1 billion.
Okay.
Okay, what that was able to do was that it gave me more a line of credit, and that's what you do based on your ratables. The city's credit or the availability to borrow money, it gets higher. Now the question is, how much of that percentage do you actually borrow? It's all predicated on what your ability to pay. So you're always in debt. And always in debt. So I really honestly believe that and Mr. Gallo said it last night at an event, being in debt is a normal course of living or a normal course of business practice for any municipality in the state of New Jersey, for any municipality in the country. Let me give you the example. If we have only 29,000 taxpayers in the city, right? That's all we have. Did you know that? We have only 29,000 taxpayers to support a city of over 150,000 people.
I heard 24, but if you're saying 29.
And it could because, again, as the market crunch, folks in foreclosure and lose, so 24,000, okay? To support a city of over 150,000 people, okay? Your average sewer line, if it collapses under an emergency, it'll cost you $1 million. If you were to take that $1 million and you had to raise that money up, and you didn't have it, and you had to raise it through taxation, and divide the $1 million into your 24,000 people, how could the taxpayers pay that? Right. So, what do we have to do? We go to our credit card, and we borrowed it under a capital, and we stretched that payment over 30 years. You know, one of the good things when I was a councilman and mayor as well is that we did not borrow on a longer term, so we didn't pay that much interest in the long term. We borrowed the money on a shorter term. But every municipality, if you look at the budget line item, you will see that there's two lines in there. One is to pay debt service. You always pay debt service. The difference is you don't want to pay debt service for toilet paper. You don't want to pay debt service for pensions, for people's sick days. You don't want to pay debt service for a loss of tax appeal. There's no problem of paying debt service for buying a fire truck that costs you $1 million. Where could we buy a fire truck and take it from here? Or even the new fleet of police officers. Do you honestly think, not officers, the new fleet of police cars that you see, all those SUVs around?
You bought those cars before you...
No, that one, I bought it, but I'm talking about the last round.
Okay.
And even the ones that I bought, I don't buy that. You don't buy that with cash in hand. You know, either you lease them, similar like you would do in your home, or you borrow it. You borrow it and you pay it over a long term, because you could never take that expenditures and tax it onto the taxpayers. Okay? You got to recall, and many people don't.
Let me get back to the point. The deficit keeps going up, and we keep asking, Paterson keeps asking the state for more money, because it keeps getting larger. When you left office, it was about $74 million.
There was no $74 million.
Sir,
prove to me that it's $74 million. There wasn't no $74 million. Where the $74 million came from was that it was the Mayor Jones' wish list when he came into office. I'm quite sure that that $74 million was charged his chief of staff, Mr. Pettiford, $100,000 salary, that you know that wasn't there when mine. I'm quite sure there was other little things that he wanted to do. A budget, I think it's imperative to know that the budget process is that the mayor transmits a budget document to the council. The council then looks at it, right, and then introduces. Once it gets introduced, the council could rip it up, add, subtract, delete, do whatever it wants. What Congress called line item veto. Okay? Then the mayor takes that budget document through the finance department and sends it to the state of New Jersey. The same DCA group that you're talking about that's saying
you're under state control.
Okay? No. Even if you wasn't under state control.
You still have to send it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You send it to the state. The state reviews it and see if it falls in line, the impact, if it's all good, and then tells you, yes, you could go ahead and introduce it. Okay? So this $74 million number it was something that was just pulled out of the hat, because when you come into office, yeah, you're going to try to ask for whatever you get. So if you go to your department heads and you're a new mayor, and you come and say, okay, what you need to run your department, and what you need to put in for raises, and what you need to do some exciting things that you do. And in the meantime, in his office, he's saying, oh, and I want to hire public relations officers, which he did. I want to hire a chief of staff, which he did. I want to do all these things and create all these positions, which he did. Okay? So then you come up with a figure. You know? And so then you come up with a figure and you say, oh, this is what I need. No.
When did the city of Paterson start asking for state aid?
That state aid has been with us from as long as I can remember. Even when I was a councilman.
But when Marty Barnes was in office,
state aid.
He was getting state aid?
Yep. The only difference was that there was no contract, no binding contract as it's been done over the years. It was just it was a state aid. You would make your argument, you give it. It was during the latter years that then they actually make you sign what is called the MOU.
So here we go again. The more deficit you get, the more state aid you demand. Because right now I think they're asking for $27 million, correct? When you left office, how much did you ask for?
When I left office, I believe the amount that what I asked for, what I got.
Right. Well, you have to ask for something to get something.
Okay. But you don't ask for more than what you got in the previous year.
Okay.
That's what Jeff did. Yeah. He created a budget document that says $74 million, thinking, it's a wish list, thinking that the state would then say, oh, yes, we got a new mayor in here and he needs $74 million.
Let's give him 30.
Huh?
Well, I guess. It's the art of negotiation, I think. Okay, so let's move on to a different topic. I know you said this at the city council meeting, but I want you to tell me what's going on with this $74,000.
Okay. At the council meeting, I read an excerpt. I read an excerpt. Actually, I read two excerpts. I read an excerpt from a letter from Dominic Stampone, Acting Corporation Counsel, and a letter to Neff, where he said, the city takes no position as to the unlawfulness of the monies that were paid to Mayor Torres.
What does that mean in English?
That there was no unlawfulness. If they take no position, then they're saying it wasn't unlawful. They said the city took no position as to the unlawfulness of the pay for accrued sick and vacation time to Mayor Torres.
So there was no demand for you to pay that money back?
Nope. No. What they did was they said to the state, we want you to look at this. Okay? We want you to look at this. The state then came back and says the same thing that the council said. Are you kidding me? This report that was done by Charles Thomas and then there's nothing there. You didn't give us enough documents that we could make an educated or render an opinion onto this, whether it was done lawful or unlawful.
Were you entitled to the money?
Yes, I was.
Under what premise?
The law.
Which law?
There's three laws.
Okay.
And I'm going to go back to the podium because now it's in the hands of an attorney too. And if I wasn't entitled to it, do you think that maybe I would have been receiving a subpoena or I would have been arrested? And instead there's just letters going back up. And I recall you, the first letter that Dominic said, there was nothing unlawful. The city takes no position unto if it was done unlawful. And that then came back, and I quoted in the letter, says, it is wrongful for an elected official to get paid for sick and vacation time. Okay? Unless there's an ordinance, a resolution, and a policy. And in my case, there was an ordinance, there was a resolution, and there was a policy. Don't you find it coincidence that 4 members of the governing body out of 8 who voted affirmative for me to get that money, 4 are running for mayor?
Okay.
And all of them approved it? And particularly 2 of them, Councilman Gal and Councilman Regal, was part of the finance committee that they actually had to sign it. They will tell you, oh, we didn't know it was a part of the bills. But Gal and Regal actually had to sign the document to say, yes, we do review these bills and we want them to be put on the payment of bills.
Do you have copies of what they signed?
You go over it.
Okay. So, because what they're saying now is that they didn't know about it because it was just fit in there under disguise, so we couldn't see it.
It's all part of the normal process of the payment of bills. They had the opportunity to question it. They signed that they did. The finance committee sent it over, chaired by Councilman Morris, Morris, Gal, and Regal.
So if you would open that up, you'd actually see the money going to you?
You see it in the payment of bills. You see it in it recorded. Obviously, it doesn't say it's going to me, but it was part of the normal process of presenting the payment of bills to the governing body to get paid.
Well, you can see their problem right here because they're going to say the same thing. Well, he's right. We didn't see it coming to him, and had we done
That doesn't make it wrong.
Well, it makes it wrong in their eyes.
Why?
Because they're saying we didn't see his name, we didn't see it going to him.
How about the other $400 million that they have approved also? Okay.
And it doesn't say who it goes to?
No. It's in a regular reporting system of disbursement of the bills. They don't get copies of every single check. Right. It's not their role. Remember, the treasurer has its supporting documentation. In this case, the treasurer had the supporting documentation, the director of finance had his supporting documentation, and the director of human resources had their supporting documentation. So remember, I'm going back to what Neff said. Unless there's an ordinance, policy, and resolution. And in this case, if there was no policy, ordinance, or resolution, I do not think that the director of human services or the treasurer or the director of finance would have submit that payment to be paid.
So you're saying that you didn't have to say, hey, Joey Torres wants this money because you had those 3 things in place, and you figured if they're in place, what do I need to...
It's not that I say Joey Torres got that money. It's the process.
Exactly.
Over in the last 10 years, and even now, buddy, they're changing it differently now because egg on them, because they're trying to make something that's not there. But over the last 10 years, do you want to know how many people got similar paychecks?
Okay.
Over 300. So why are they signaling out Joey Torres?
Because they're saying that once you're an elected official...
But I didn't get that as an elected official, sir.
What did you get it as?
I got it because I worked for 25 years for the government. I didn't get that. I didn't get that because I was an elected official. I didn't get that because I told them on my way out, cut me out a check, as they may want to say it. I got that because the law says and the policy say that an employee who works for 25 years uninterrupted for government is entitled by law to get paid for his sick and vacation time.
Did you have any other titles besides the elected positions?
I worked for government. Okay. You know it. For the past 25 years. Matter of fact, I took a leave of absence, and the records will show very clearly. I took a leave of absence from my purchasing job at the housing authority when I actually left there to become the mayor.
So here's what I think they're doing. They went after Mayor Jeffrey Jones because they're saying, you are not a salaried employee. You are a fixed elected official's employee.
Jeffrey's totally different.
Well, that's what they're trying to do. I mean, the whole argument,
no.
conversation.
Jeffrey doesn't have, listen.
So there's a difference between you and Jeffrey.
Big difference. Okay. There's a big difference between not only me and Jeff. There's a big difference of the reason why Pasquarello didn't get it. There's a big difference why Kramer didn't get it. There is a big difference why even Rudy didn't get it. Why? Because they didn't work for 25 years
So there
as
is,
a government employee.
so there is a statute or law
Yeah,
that says if you work for more than 25 years,
that's correct.
you're entitled to this.
That's correct.
And since neither Pascal nor Jones nor Kramer didn't pass that threshold of the 25 years, they're not entitled to
You
it.
got it.
So you have this and you said, look, I'm entitled to this by law.
State law. State law.
And you make a lot of money. It's not like you really needed this because your salary was
It doesn't matter.
right.
It's contractual. The law says that's what you get, and that's what you get. It doesn't matter whether you make a little bit of money or a lot of money.
hmm
It's contractual. It's the law.
So I want to make that argument to Councilman President Sayer right now, who is saying that he received $2,500 from Gator, right, and another $500 and a few others, and there was a contract that went to Gator for $400,000, and he somehow it went. And he, as a council president, you're the only one responsible for putting things, and if you don't want it, it doesn't go there. So he's confronted Gilmore at one of the meetings saying, I didn't do anything wrong. It was perfectly clear that I can take this money because it was illegal for me to take up to $2,500, and then, hey, a contract went to the guy, don't blame me. In your case, in his case, he's trying to beat the statute, I think. In your case, you say you have a law that says that you're entitled to this.
That's correct.
And if you think you have a problem with it, take me to court and I'll bring this law. That's what you're saying.
Let them bring it on.
Okay. And you've had an attorney who is going to do that if they push it.
Well, no. I hired the attorney to go ahead and ask for a meeting with the state officials, because what happened was that the city of Paterson never sent the state officials all the proper documentation that he needed. Because if he would have seen the resolution, the ordinance, and the policy, just like he said in his letter, I'm quite sure that letter would have had a whole different an opinion.
Who are we talking about here?
No.
No. Okay.
So he said, unless it's illegal, unless. So even if you're elected official, even if you're an elected official, and if you have a resolution or an ordinance that say that you're entitled to that, then yes, you could get it. I'm going to fast forward you to a report that was just promulgated by the AG's office, and I think Russ was mentioned receiving some monies for overtime or some compensation. And he said, yeah, it was wrong. However, if you want to make it right, it should be done by ordinance, policy, and resolution. If you state it in the ordinance and policy and resolution, then there's no wrongdoing.
So basically what the city is trying to do now, in your opinion, is rescind the ordinance. If they're passing a new one,
They can't rescind a state law.
what's
What they did now was just feel good. It's what it's called. It's a smear. They're throwing mud. It's a smear campaign. They waited over 3.5 years, and coincidentally,
That's right, because this happened on the day you left 4 years ago.
coincidentally, it wasn't until I announced that I was going to run for mayor that Gal found a copy of this check. Oh, look what's here. The same guy that saying corruption, but yet wanted to go ahead and sue, make a demand from the taxpayers of $1.2 million because he wanted to play cop.
Yeah, let's get to that, because he sued you for, how much did he sue you for?
He didn't sue
Like
me.
$1 million something. He sued you and what? He sued
He
the whole,
don't sue me. He sued the city.
and it named you. And so he's saying that he saw a burglar and he chased a burglar on a high-speed chase. He got a ticket, right? The ticket teed him off. And on that ticket, he sued, saying retaliation, whatever. I was there when twice he tried to insert a settlement on not the regular meeting, the other meetings. And I saw it, and I pulled it, and I questioned, and it's done. There was a $50,000 settlement offered him, and he was upset because of something. I just read that in the news media. But he wanted all this money from you.
He wanted 1.2.
1.2 million.
No.
He lost. And a federal judge says you have no right to bring this suit. You have no cause, no right, no nothing. So I think what's happening right now is he's been asked to repay the $500,000 that he cost taxpayers because he's angry at you, basically. I've been covering this story, and I've been watching all the resolutions to see what it came up. It came up twice. I questioned it. They pulled it, and so he was offered $50,000. He refused it because some argument again. So he lost the case.
And the judge, I think I recall reading, said that it wasn't worth $25,000.
Right. So, what do you think about Galvin in this whole?
I'm not going to make no.
Okay, good. Well,
He's just, again, he's running against me.
second time.
You know, he just
He ran before.
you know. So we know that everything he does is politically motivated.
Good. Let's move on from that.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party. I know you had a good relationship with them because I saw things that happened. I saw them approach you with things. I'm not going to mention what it is in respect to you because you're no longer in part of that. And they reached out to you for a lot of things that you helped them. You were with them. And now it's like they threw you under the bus and they grabbed this other Sayer guy and they want him to be mayor over you after all you've done for them. How do you respond to that?
Listen, I'm a proud Democrat. I will continue to be a proud Democrat. I will work fearlessly to promote the democratic philosophies of this country. I can't speak for the party bosses. I can't speak for individual people who happen to be Democrats to choose him. I just honestly strongly believe, I personally strongly believe, that the only reason why they see fit to support Mr. Sayer is the same reason why Mr. Gator gave him the $4,000. And by the way, let me say this, it was illegal. Even though that he didn't cast his vote, the city's pay-to-play ordinance indicates that any vendor who in the city of Paterson, according to the pay-to-play, cannot contribute, even if he didn't vote for it, more than $300. And Mr. Sayer got how much?
Well, one of the checks was $2,500.
Totally, it was like $4,000.
Okay, total.
Yeah, $4,000.
Okay.
So, if Mr. Gator didn't do business with the city, right, then he could give up to $2,600. And again, he exceeded that threshold as well. So, in both cases, okay, and I find it quite troubling that the man who takes responsibility for saying that he sponsored the ordinance, that he wrote the ordinance, allows a loophole in there for himself to say, however, it has no bearing on developers.
It says that?
That's how he wrote it. And however, I find it very troubling that then he would get a check from a lawyer representing a developer that then he gave a multi-million-dollar tax break to.
Which lawyer is this?
The lawyer that represented the Phoenix Mills.
You don't know the name off the top of your head?
We could get it for you.
Okay.
Or you could Oprah the records. I'm not in it to make a case.
So you think you think he's watching, say, look, how much can I get here? How much can I get there? How close to the law can I get?
Of course. But I'm going to say this. Look at how much the residents of the city of Paterson have to contribute to Passaic County's tax base. How much of our tax bill goes? Do you know that there's a greater portion of our tax bills that we collect from the taxpayers that go to support county government more than it supports Paterson? I urge you to go to
Wait, you did this.
I urge you to go to the finance department and look at that, because our tax bill is 4 parts. Our tax bill is open space, and you know we don't get our fair share from the open space money either. You know, open space.
Why don't we get our fair share?
Because I think I was doing pretty
What
good.
is open space?
Open space is a tax that we tax the property tax owners a percentage, I believe is 0.5 point, that we collect it and we give it to the county, and they use it in order to promote preservation of land and open space and to support our recreation activity. And over the 10 years or 12 years or 15 years go fast, that this has been enacted, we have the residents, the city of Paterson, through that percentage of their taxes, has contributed millions. I'm going to say maybe it could be like 8 million, 9 million. And in return, we have to request some of that money to upgrade our parks and stuff. And I did request some of it to do Pennington Park, by the way, or Mary Ellen Park, and the pocket parks that we have. But at the end of the day, we've gave them $8 million, and I don't think they've given us more than $3 million returned back to us.
What's the other 3 points?
The school, the municipality.
Tax dollars goes to the school, tax dollars goes to
the county,
administrative and stuff.
no, municipal, county, open space,
School.
and education.
Education.
That's a 4-part. Now, the troubling part, the hard part is that the school doesn't collect it, the county doesn't collect it. Paterson has to collect it and then cut out the checks to everybody else. If the county had to send their own tax bill, if the county had to send the residents a tax bill, you probably see that the reckless expenditures spent on county government probably won't take place because the taxpayers will hold them accountable for it. But see, they don't send their tax bill. So I urge you to go and even see, right now, this budget, how much money goes to support county government. And so that's the reason why I see that the fix is in. Let's get a mayor in here who is supported by the machinery, okay? And that way, then you're going to see that everybody who gets work for the county government will then control the work from the city of Paterson, and then basically we're going to have a puppet.
When you say control the work from the city of Paterson, what do you mean?
The contracts, just like Ada.
So under him, they can control all the contracts,
That's correct.
all the jobs.
Yeah.
With the municipal courts,
Everything.
the judges,
Everything.
the prosecutors.
Everything. And then on top of that, they raise their level of expenditures to run county government.
Which means
And then who have to pay? The residents of the city of Paterson. And to make matters even worse, where's all the county governments? They don't contribute to our tax base.
so
The
if,
jail is here in Paterson. The courthouse is here in Paterson. Board of Social Services is here in Paterson. What do we get of value out of that?
all right, what would you do different this time that I know you had 4 years to sit down and says, could have done this, should have done that, this could have been done.
Well, I'm not the type of coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I'm sure you came up with some new ideas.
I think in closing, because I got to go on to my.
This is my closing question.
I think that who is Joey Torres today? Okay, Joey Torres today is Administrator Torres. Okay, he's a business administrator who took a job over 150 miles away from here.
Jacksonville?
Jackson Township, the home of Great Adventure, who every day goes to be a public servant. I've always said it for many years. I am not a politician. I am a public servant, and it's quite fulfilling to be able to get a job that I'm still serving the public, and to almost all the capacities as mayor, except I don't have to run for office. Okay, I serve my council, and I give them their reports. I negotiated contracts. I got us out of a furlough. I just transmitted my budget document in Jackson.
How'd it go?
Okay, an average home of $323,000, $32 for the year was their taxes, and I kept it within the 2% cap that the law said. So if I come back here to Paterson, okay, I'm going to apply those best practices that I've learned over the last 4 years. I'm going to apply the fiscal responsibility and good best management practices that I know. In addition, to bring new businesses back, to shift the rateable base from the residential to the commercial, so we're making money. Remember I said 8 years, almost $1 billion in new rateables. That's going to give me the money that I need to hire the 100 police officers back to assure that this town is safe, because once we have it safe, clean, we're on the right track to rebuilding our great city and back to the days of progress that were under my administration.
I do have one question I forgot. The Center City Mall is not doing well.
Yeah, I think that you may or may not know that the Center City Mall went through a partnership split, and I think what we're seeing now is the results of the partnership split. I'm confident that they are now will be able to rebound and get back on the right track. But I think it's like, the partnership split, Sirrano, I'm going to equate it and it could be sound kind of corny, it's almost like a divorce.
I was just gonna.
Okay, and when a divorce, you split equity, you split money, it goes all out. So I think that now that divorce has been culminated.
That happened in December, but 2 years before that, the businesses started leaving. There was an exodus. And what I heard right now is the mall is, Paterson, the parking authority, is losing $150,000 because they can't meet the parking facility.
That's wrong. That's wrong. See, again, what you're hearing is not based by facts and based by the contract. The contract that was entered into with the developers of Center City and the parking authority, when we gave them a land lease for that land, was that they, at all levels, had to assure that the income that was derived, the original income that was derived from the surface parking lot. So hypothetically, before Center City was there, the parking authority would make $500,000 a year
it was making
on revenue.
$950,000.
Okay, so it is the responsibility of the Center City partners that they still, their rent is to make up that difference that is not made up based on the parking. So if right now is generating $400,000, the partners have to pay $500,000.
They are. They're generating $500,000.
So the parking authority is not losing anything.
Well, when they are, they were making $950,000. They're making $500,000. They're paying from their own pockets $300,000. So the parking authority is losing $150,000.
No, the parking authority is not in this business to lose.
Well, it is losing here. I wanted to bring this to your attention.
No, it can't because the law. Listen, if the parking authority was losing it, then it's within their rights to evict the Center City partner. And that's not going to happen.
Well, they can't because they're going to lose
Right.
one. And what I heard now was they're taking parking from over here, the other lots, and actually filling the empty spaces because they can't rent them out.
What you're hearing is one thing, and what the letter of the law dictates another. If you have a financial obligation to pay X amount of dollars of rent, and in this case, the rent was structured as a revenue component.
I thought the rent was $1 for 99 years.
Yes. But the real money was the revenue.
Okay.
They had to, the partners had to guarantee the revenue stream of the $900,000 that we used to make back then.
$950.
Okay. That is the constant.
And what if you came back and you found out what I'm saying is true? What would you do?
Huh? Well, then, if I'm saying it's true, then I would fire the director of the parking authority, because that means he's running at a negative, and he's not supposed to run on a negative on the backs of the taxpayers.
Well, what if it's the Center City Mall who made the promise they were going to have all these traffic and they're not having it?
It's no promises. You don't make a contract, a developer's deal, based on promises. Either you do or you don't. That's it. He's a developer. He has the stores. Those people that are there.
The traffic that was promised to the mall, and I've had this conversation with many people, even the businesses that are leaving, they were promised. I interviewed 3 businesses. They were promised traffic, and there was no traffic.
Okay, but that has no bearing on us.
Exactly. So why would you fire this guy?
Because you just said that he's losing $150,000.
Well, it's not because what he's doing is because they promised they were going to make this, and they're not making
Listen to what you're saying. You just told me, and then you can go back and play the video thing.
Okay.
You just told me that the parking authority is losing $150,000 a year.
Right.
Are they losing or not losing?
Well, I'm going to give you the numbers again. Center City is supposed to meet more than the $950,000. Okay?
No, it's not supposed to meet more than $950,000. The idea was that if we were making $950,000 of revenue on that parking lot when there was no building, the agreement was that Center City have to guarantee us the revenue stream of $950,000. If we only get $400,000 in parking revenues a month or a year, whatever the figure may be, then the partners have to pay the difference. If it makes over the $900, then now the partners are making money. If it makes over $2 million, hypothetically, now there is a revenue sharing component in which they could both make it. So there are incentives, but at no point of the contract of that development agreement is to cost the parking authority any money to run and maintain it. Because the way that was done is that was guaranteed from the revenue streams of all our parking garages. So what you're saying that they're shifting people, It doesn't matter because the debt service that we pay is a revenue sharing stream, and then we include all the revenues from the park.
And it's responsibility of the mall to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right, sir.
It doesn't go after them.
Right, it's not the director of the park.
So I'm going to ask one more question before
Now,
you
I got it.
How do you, all the stores are leaving. What do you think about that?
That's it. There's stores leaving downtown. I kind of think it's because the crime is off the hook in the city of Paterson. Nobody wants to come here to shop. Secondly, I also believe that the rate that they charge in the park here is a little bit absorbent, even though you get a free hour, and nobody knows that. I think if they market that all the shoppers get 1 hour free parking, or free parking if they go shop there, I think that they would go ahead.
They get 4.
Yeah. I don't think nobody knows that. So they're not running, it's not going out of business because we're doing things wrong, even though I think that the crime factor hinders them. Okay? I also believe that we need to bring some more nightlife to downtown. But if you look across the street, there's buildings empty across the street. You go right down downtown Paterson. That is a sign of the economy, unfortunately, but I also strongly believe, that is a sign because the perception of the crime and the criminal element running the city is that people do not feel safe of coming to shop in Paterson. And if I'm mayor, I'm going to bring 100 police officers back to town, bring up the crime rate, fight crime, and so that way people will be safe to shop in town, eat in town, and start reinvesting in the city of Paterson. So I thank you for this opportunity.
But
and
again,
to everyone in cyberspace, don't forget, May 13th, 3A all the way. Please vote for the mayor that Paterson needs now, and that's your public servant, Jose Joey Torres. Thank you.
Thank you. Just 1 second. And that's all the time that we have for today. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.